Dive deep into the annals of history, and the Middle Ages emerges as a time rife with myths, misconceptions, and mysteries. As we journey through 15 surprising facts about this era, prepare to have your assumptions challenged, and perhaps find a renewed appreciation for the richness of medieval life. Number 1. Trenchers, medieval edible plates. In the tapestry of medieval Europe, where life was dominated by rituals, traditions, and customs, even the act of dining was an elaborate affair. Central to this practice, surprisingly, was not just the food itself, but the vessel on which it was served. Enter the trencher, a medieval marvel that combined function with sustenance, blurring the lines between plate and food. Trenchers were thick slices of stale bread, which served the dual purpose of acting as plates and absorbing the juices of the food placed upon them. Typically, these bread plates were about 6 inches in diameter and were used as the primary serving surface for many dishes, especially those that were stewed or had rich gravies. As the meal progressed, the trencher would become soaked with the flavors of the dish, transforming from a bland piece of bread into a tasty treat. In a world without porcelain dishes or the vast array of utensils we possess today, the trencher was an ingenious solution. It minimized waste, as after the meal the soaked trencher could be consumed, offering a burst of flavors from the meal it had cradled. If the diner was not inclined to eat their trencher, it was given as alms to the poor, ensuring that nothing was wasted. Bread, in its various forms, was a staple of the medieval diet. The trencher, usually crafted from coarser grains, was an innovation born out of necessity. The more affluent households could afford to waste bread as plates, while the lower classes consumed more of their bread directly, reserving only the hardest and stalest portions as trenchers. Furthermore, the trencher held cultural significance. For instance, at weddings, a trencher filled with food would be passed between the bride and groom, symbolizing their shared life and resources. The trencher kiss was a tradition where, after sharing a meal from the same trencher, a couple would share a kiss, sealing their bond. By the late Middle Ages, with advancements in pottery and the increasing availability of wooden and metal plates, the use of bread as plates began to decline. Trenchers made of wood became more common, but they retained the name, a nod to their edible predecessors. Today, the concept of an edible plate might seem novel, a gimmick used in high-end restaurants or ecological campaigns against plastic waste. But in the medieval world, it was a way of life, a testament to the ingenuity of a time when nothing, not even the plate, was taken for granted. Number 2. Flying toilets, the sanitary situation. The Middle Ages, spanning roughly from the 5th to the late 15th century, was an era of remarkable innovations, chivalric tales, and architectural wonders. Yet, underneath the grandeur of Gothic cathedrals and the hustle of burgeoning towns, lay an often overlooked challenge of day-to-day life: sanitation. In the winding lanes and crowded market squares, waste disposal, particularly human waste, was a predicament that led to some unique and airborne solutions. Medieval European towns were densely populated spaces. Houses, often made of wood and plaster, were built closely together, leaving narrow streets in between. As towns expanded, they often did so without a comprehensive plan for sewage or sanitation. While the Romans had left a legacy of aqueducts and public bathhouses, much of this infrastructure had crumbled by the Middle Ages, leaving towns to devise their own strategies for waste management. In the absence of sewer systems, residents often employed a straightforward method: tossing their waste out of the window. This is where the term garde-l'eau, derived from the French garde à l'eau, meaning watch out for the water, comes into play. It was a warning shout given before emptying chamber pots into the streets below. This casual approach to waste disposal led to streets being littered with refuse and excrement, hence the flying toilets moniker. To navigate the muck-filled streets, pedestrians used wooden platforms or stepping stones, ensuring they remained above the filth. During rains, the situation became particularly dire as streets turned into foul-smelling streams. However, it's essential to note that while sanitation was a significant issue, medieval townsfolk were not indifferent to it. Town authorities often imposed fines on individuals found dumping waste inappropriately. Guilds were formed to manage waste and ensure streets were cleaned, albeit sporadically. Some towns even constructed rudimentary drainage systems to channel waste away from populated areas. The Thames in London, the Seine in Paris, and many other European rivers bore the brunt of this urban waste, leading to pollution issues that would last centuries. It was only with the advent of the Renaissance and later the Industrial Revolution that comprehensive sewage systems began to emerge, radically transforming urban sanitation. Reflecting on the flying toilets of the Middle Ages provides a stark reminder of the challenges of urban living and the innovations and adaptability of people even in the most trying circumstances. It underscores the importance of infrastructure and town planning, lessons that remain pertinent today as cities continue to grapple with waste management challenges. Number 3. Pointy shoes, a fashion statement. The Middle Ages, with its intricate tapestries and robust fortresses, is often stereotyped as a time devoid of fashion sensibilities. Contrary to this perception, medieval Europe was a cauldron of sartorial statements, with none quite as distinctive or controversial as the poulain. This shoe, characterized by its extraordinarily long and pointed toe, not only defined an era, but also showcased the intersection of fashion, status, and practicality. The poulain, also known as Krakow, traces its origins to the late 14th century. It was named after Krakow, Poland, where it was believed to have been popularized. However, its adoption spread rapidly across Europe, becoming particularly favored among the English and French elite. The length and extremity of the shoe's point, or the pike, were directly proportionate to the wearer's social standing. The longer the toe, the higher the wearer's societal rank, with some pikes extending over 24 inches. The construction of the poulain was a marvel in itself. Crafted from soft, pliable leather, the shoe's toe was often stuffed with moss or wool to retain its dramatic shape. Sometimes chains or small wooden rods connected the tip of the pike to the knee to prevent it from dragging on the ground. Yet the poulain was not merely a frivolous fashion accessory. Its long toe, albeit impractical for daily activities, symbolized a life of leisure and privilege. Those who wore the most exaggerated versions were effectively demonstrating their detachment from manual labor or combat. They walked a world where ostentation mattered and practicality took a back seat. By the late 15th century, the tide began to turn against the poulain. Municipal authorities, recognizing the impracticalities and possible dangers of the shoe, started imposing regulations. In Paris, for instance, a decree was issued limiting the length of shoe points for different classes of society. Moreover, shifting tastes and the rising popularity of other shoe designs contributed to the decline of the poulain's dominance. As the Middle Ages transitioned into the Renaissance, the poulain gradually disappeared from the fashion landscape, replaced by broader and more practical footwear. Today, it remains a symbol of an era, a testament to the length society will go in the name of fashion. Looking back, the poulain serves as a poignant reminder of the ephemeral nature of fashion trends and the enduring human desire to stand out, even at the cost of comfort and practicality. Number 4. Knightly chores, not just fighters. When one conjures up images of medieval knights, it's usually of gallant warriors clad in gleaming armor, brandishing swords, and charging into battle on powerful steeds. The popular narrative often paints them as fearless defenders of kingdoms and rescuers of damsels in distress. Yet beyond these tales of valor and chivalry, knights were individuals with a myriad of responsibilities and roles, many of which were far removed from the battlefield. Knighthood, first and foremost, was a socio-economic class. Many knights were essentially landlords, owning extensive tracts of land gifted or inherited. With such ownership came the responsibilities of management. These lands, often comprised of farmlands, forests, mills, and villages, required overseeing. Knights ensured that taxes were collected, disputes among peasants were resolved, and that the lands were cultivated and protected. They often acted as judges in minor legal matters, arbitrating over issues that arose within their domain. Beyond the administrative duties, knights had a significant role in estate maintenance. The upkeep of castles and manor houses, critical symbols of their authority and prestige, required continuous attention. This involved supervising repairs, ensuring the security of these structures, and organizing provisions for those who lived within, be it food, water, or fuel. Knights also oversaw hunting expeditions, ensuring that game from their forests was available for their tables and those of their retainers. Training was another critical aspect of a knight's life. While they weren't always at war, knights continuously honed their combat skills. They practiced with weapons, engaged in mock battles, and trained in horsemanship. Tournaments, while serving as entertainment, were also platforms for knights to showcase their martial prowess and gain renown. However, amidst these multifaceted roles, knights were also family men. They were husbands, fathers, and sometimes even scholars. Within the walls of their homes, they engaged in the upbringing of their children, ensuring their sons were trained to carry on the knightly tradition and arranging suitable marriages for their daughters. The life of a knight in the Middle Ages was not solely about combat and chivalry. It was a mosaic of duties, ranging from administrative chores and estate management to family responsibilities and political engagements. Their armor, as symbolic as it was of their warrior status, was but one aspect of their identity. Behind the metal facade was a complex individual navigating the intricate web of medieval society, striving to uphold honor and duty in all spheres of life. Number 5. Honeyed hair, medieval bleaching techniques. In the vibrant tableau of medieval life, personal appearance and beauty rituals held a significant place, not entirely different from today's fascination with aesthetics. Among the myriad beauty trends of the time, one that captured the fancy of many medieval women was the allure of golden locks. Lustrous blonde hair was often associated with youth, purity, and beauty, and those not naturally endowed with this shade went to great lengths to achieve it. One such method involved the use of honey and the gentle caress of sunlight. Honey, a sweet elixir produced by bees, has been cherished through the ages, not just for its taste, but also its myriad health and beauty benefits. Rich in glucose and fructose, it possesses natural humectant properties, attracting moisture. This made it an ideal ingredient for hair treatments, offering hydration alongside its lightening properties. Some variations of this technique involved mixing honey with other ingredients like vinegar, lemon juice, or wine to enhance the bleaching effect. Lemon, for instance, with its natural citric acid, amplified the lightening properties when combined with honey. While effective to a degree, this medieval bleaching technique was a slow and gradual process. It was not just about achieving a blonde hue, but also about the ritual, the patience, and the gentle, natural approach to beauty. It contrasted sharply with some of the more caustic hair treatments and dyes that would emerge in later centuries. This practice underscores the universality of beauty ideals and the lengths to which individuals go to align with them. The honeyed hair of medieval Europe is a testament to the age-old human desire to enhance natural beauty using the resources at hand to fit within societal ideals. Today, as we navigate a world of salon treatments and hair dyes, it's enchanting to think of a time when sunlight and honey were the primary tools in the quest for golden locks. Number 6. Royal touch, curing diseases. In the medieval tapestry of beliefs and rituals, one of the most intriguing was the conviction in the healing power of monarchs. The royal touch, as it was commonly termed, stemmed from the notion that kings and queens, being God's representatives on earth, were imbued with divine energy capable of curing ailments. This practice, deeply rooted in the intertwining of religiosity and monarchy, was particularly associated with the cure of the disease known as scrofula, or the king's evil, a form of tuberculosis. Scrofula manifested as painful swellings in the neck, and for centuries it was widely believed that a touch or a gesture from a reigning monarch could miraculously heal those afflicted. Ceremonies were often organized where the king or queen would lay hands on hundreds of subjects, hoping to offer them relief through divine intervention. Tokens, usually in the form of coins believed to be imbued with this healing power, were also distributed. While the scientific community today recognizes the inability of such a practice to cure a bacterial infection, the belief in the royal touch was not merely about physical healing. For many, it was symbolic of the bond between the ruler and the ruled, a reaffirmation of the monarch's role as protector and benefactor. Number 7. Teeth blackening, a sign of wealth. Aesthetic standards have varied wildly across eras and cultures, and the medieval period was no exception. One such beauty practice, particularly surprising to modern sensibilities, was the darkening of teeth. In certain medieval societies, notably in parts of Japan and Southeast Asia, blackened teeth were synonymous with beauty, maturity, and affluence. The process, termed ohaguro in Japan, involved the application of mixtures made from iron filings, vinegar, and vegetable tannins, which would react and produce a dark dye. This dye was then applied to the teeth, turning them a glossy black shade. Contrary to being deemed unattractive or unhealthy, black teeth were celebrated as a sign of wealth and status. Only those of a higher social standing could afford the luxury of this cosmetic treatment, making it an exclusive domain of the elite. Furthermore, blackened teeth were also seen as a mark of maturity and were particularly popular among married women. While this trend may seem peculiar now, it highlights the relativity of beauty standards, reminding us that perceptions of attractiveness are ever-evolving, shaped by cultural contexts and societal norms. Number 8. Animal trials, the courtroom dramas. In a world dominated by human-centered narratives, the Middle Ages presented an oddity that challenges our modern sensibilities: animals subjected to legal trials. From pigs and rats to insects, various creatures were sometimes brought to court, facing charges for a myriad of offenses. These could range from property damage by pests to more severe accusations like attacking or even killing humans. These trials were conducted with the same solemnity and rigor as human proceedings. Animals were often represented by lawyers who would defend their actions or argue for mercy on their behalf. If found guilty, these animals could face a range of punishments, including fines imposed on the animal's owner, public penances, or even executions. The reasons behind these trials are multifaceted. On one hand, they showcased the medieval belief in moral accountability for all of God's creatures. Additionally, these proceedings underscored the human endeavor to maintain order and discipline in a world fraught with uncertainties, using the legal system as a tool to reassert control. Number 9. Children's toys, fun, and games of the past. Centuries might separate us, but the joy and innocence of childhood remain universal. The medieval era, with its unique challenges, still found space for fun, games, and toys. These playthings, while rudimentary compared to today's technologically advanced toys, were cherished by the children of the Middle Ages. Wooden dolls, carved with simplistic features, were popular among young girls. Miniature replicas of household items, such as pots and pans, allowed children to mimic adult roles, facilitating both play and learning. Boys often played with wooden swords or toy knights, reflecting the chivalric ideals of the age. Whirligigs, simple toys that spun when twirled between the fingers, and hobby horses, rudimentary wooden frames that children could ride, were common. Additionally, simple ball games, using leather balls stuffed with hay or cloth, were universally popular. For many medieval children, especially those from less affluent backgrounds, nature itself provided toys. Sticks, stones, and bones could be transformed into playthings by imaginative minds. These simple joys highlight the timeless nature of childhood, a realm where imagination and play reign supreme, irrespective of the era. Number 10. Unicorns and whales, misunderstood creatures. The Middle Ages, with its unique blend of limited knowledge and rich imagination, gave rise to fascinating interpretations of the natural world. Two creatures in particular stood out in medieval lore: the elusive unicorn and the magnificent whale. Both animals, though vastly different, were subject to a plethora of myths and misunderstandings. Unicorns, often depicted as horse-like creatures with a single spiraled horn, were symbols of purity and innocence. Tales of their existence permeated through various cultures, fueled by misinterpretations of narwhal tusks or oryx antlers traded in markets. These relics, believed to possess magical properties, were highly prized. Whales, on the other hand, were genuine, but their immense size and elusive nature rendered them subjects of exaggeration. Medieval maps sometimes showcased them as gargantuan sea monsters capable of swallowing entire ships. Furthermore, confusion between beached whales and giant squids added to the tales of sea serpents and leviathans. Such misconceptions, while seeming naive to the modern observer, underscore the medieval world's hunger for wonder and the limits of their observational capabilities. Number 11. Bathing habits, cleanliness, and community. Contrary to the popular belief that the Middle Ages was an era of filth and limited hygiene, bathing was a practice both cherished and widespread. While it's true that daily showers, as we understand them today, weren't the norm, the concept of cleanliness was by no means alien. Public bathhouses were prominent fixtures in medieval towns and cities. These establishments offered communal bathing experiences, often coupled with other leisure activities like games or music. People would gather not just to cleanse themselves, but to socialize, gossip, and even conduct business. The water in these bathhouses was regularly heated, and scented herbs or oils were added for fragrance. Bathing was not just a utilitarian act, but an immersive sensory experience. However, by the late Middle Ages, public bathhouses faced scrutiny, often linked to moral concerns or fears of disease spread. Over time, this, coupled with shifting cultural norms, led to a decline in communal bathing. Yet the image of a perpetually dirty medieval populace is a myth. While their hygiene practices differed from ours, cleanliness held its own unique space in the medieval world. Number 12. Brewsters, women as brewers. In the sprawling annals of history, certain narratives often go unnoticed. One such overlooked facet is the central role of women, termed brewsters, in the medieval brewing industry. Brewing, now dominated by large corporations and male figures, was once the dominion of women. In medieval towns and villages, brewing was primarily a household activity. The task of producing ale, a staple beverage given the poor quality of drinking water, fell on women. They were responsible for the entire process, from sourcing ingredients to fermentation and selling. It was a natural extension of their roles, given that they were also in charge of preparing food and managing household resources. As ale's popularity grew, so did its commercial potential. Many women, harnessing their expertise, transitioned from household brewing to setting up alehouses or small-scale breweries. They became entrepreneurs, earning a livelihood and contributing significantly to the local economy. However, as brewing evolved into a profitable industry, regulatory pressures increased. By the late Middle Ages, with the rise of guilds and commercial interests, men started edging women out of the brewing domain. Brewing transitioned from homes to larger establishments, and the once celebrated brewsters faded into obscurity. This shift is a testament to the fluidity of gender roles and the socio-economic dynamics that shape industries, reminding us that many modern professions have deep-rooted histories entwined with forgotten female pioneers. Number 13. Herbs and charms, medieval medicine. The world of medieval medicine, while seemingly arcane to our modern sensibilities, was a complex interplay of knowledge, beliefs, and practices. Rooted in a blend of empirical observations and spiritual convictions, it showcased humanity's ceaseless quest for healing. Herbs were the cornerstone of medieval remedies. Plants like yarrow, comfrey, and mugwort were routinely employed for their perceived medicinal properties, addressing ailments from wounds to fevers. Apothecaries, the pharmacists of yore, held extensive knowledge of herbal concoctions, infusions, and balms. Parallel to the herb-based treatments were charms and amulets. These were not merely ornamental, but believed to possess protective and curative powers. Inscribed with prayers, symbols, or incantations, they were worn to ward off diseases or evil spirits. Additionally, certain practices now deemed superstitious were integral to medieval healing. It was common, for instance, to recite specific prayers or chants during treatments, merging the spiritual with the physical. While some remedies, upon modern scrutiny, hold merit due to the genuine therapeutic properties of herbs, others are dismissed as mere placebo or folklore. Yet regardless of their efficacy, these practices underline the holistic approach of medieval medicine where mind, body, and spirit were inextricably linked in the journey towards healing. Number 14. Multicolored carrots, a vegetable palette. Modern shoppers accustomed to bright orange carrots lining supermarket shelves might be startled by the vegetable's medieval counterpart. The carrot's journey is a colorful tale, quite literally. Before the 17th century, if you were to dine in a medieval household, your plate might have boasted carrots in shades of purple, yellow, red, or even black. Originating in the region spanning between Persia and Anatolia, ancient carrots were primarily purple or yellow. As they spread to Asia and the Mediterranean, Their genetic variations produced a rainbow of colors. Each hue held its own unique taste and texture, adding to the culinary diversity of medieval cuisine. The orange carrot, dominant today, is a relatively recent cultivar. It gained popularity in early modern Europe, particularly in the Netherlands, where selective breeding bolstered its presence. Over time, it overshadowed its multicolored siblings, primarily due to its sweeter taste and consistency in texture. Reflecting on the vibrant tapestry of medieval carrots is not just a culinary exercise. It serves as a reminder of nature's diversity and the ever-evolving interplay of culture, trade, and agriculture that shapes our dietary landscape. Number 15. Siege warfare, the role of animals. The annals of warfare are filled with ingenious tactics, formidable weapons, and at times the unfortunate use of animals. Medieval sieges, marked by prolonged standoffs and intense battles, saw various creatures playing roles that ranged from the strategic to the tragic. Horses, as expected, were paramount. Beyond mere transportation, they were essential in battering ram operations or delivering rapid assaults. Pigeons, on the other hand, played the role of medieval messengers, carrying crucial information in and out of besieged areas. However, the more somber aspect of animal involvement comes from their use as biological weapons. In certain sieges, diseased carcasses of cattle or even horses were catapulted over city walls, aiming to spread infection among the besieged populace. This early form of biological warfare showcased the lengths to which armies would go to weaken their enemies. Animals also suffered the collateral damage of warfare. Starvation during prolonged sieges often led to the consumption of any available animals, and many a warhorse met its end not in battle, but as sustenance for desperate soldiers. Reflecting upon their roles underscores the profound interconnectedness of humans and animals throughout history, even in the grim theater of war.